We're here on the banks of the Missouri River in Sugar Creek, Missouri with Tracy Martin, solo female kayaker. And Tracy, why did you want us to go to the Missouri River? Why is this river important to you?
Julie, let me tell you why this river is important to me. I absolutely love the Missouri River, and I spend the majority of my time out here on this river. I enjoy camping along beside it. I enjoy the walking trails beside it. I absolutely enjoy paddling on it with my kayak. The Missouri River here in the Kansas City area has a really bad reputation of being fast and dangerous. People claim bodies pop up along the river. And I tell you what, Julie, I've never seen a body pop up alongside my boat yet. It's really a beautiful river. Along this stretch of the Kansas City section, you know, it might not be as beautiful, but once you get further east along the river, it's just absolutely gorgeous. And I've had some really wonderful memories along this river and on this river kayaking. I kayak solo on this river, which a lot of people shake their finger at me and say I shouldn't do it. And there's been some times I've gotten myself in trouble. A few years back, the river was at flood stage and I was going to do a training run. And even though there were trees the size of houses floating down the river, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do my training run anyways. So I popped my boat on the river and off I go. And there was some really swirly washing machine type water that just popped up and some swirly water, and my boat flipped over. The wind was blowing. I had all this debris. The wind was sort of blowing towards me. I had these huge trees and debris, and I sort of got caught underneath it. And I saw my life flash before my face on that one. But I was able to get myself out from under it and able to get back into my boat and able to get on down the river. And I got off the river and I was like, that was fucking stupid. I should have said that. All right.
So I noticed you have a tattoo.
Yes.
And what exactly does it say, and what's the background behind it? I know, like I said, you've been on this river for many hours and many miles, and you do races on it. But I know you do a lot of night kayaking and
well, the tattoo says danger is real, but fear is a choice, and it has a feather with birds, and it has a really significant meaning for me. The Missouri 340 is one of the longest non-stop kayak races around. There's other kayak races that are longer, but they have mandatory stops. The 340 is unique and there's no stopping. You just paddle from start to finish, day and night. And I've been able to paddle up to 36 hours before I had to pull over to try to get 30 minutes, 45 minutes of sleep. Doing that's going to cause you to have hallucinations. There's just no way around it. And by the time I get within, say, 24, 28 hours, I'm seeing things. The things on land is moving, bridges are swaying back and forth. I see bright flashes of light popping around. The trick, though, is to know that it's a hallucination, that it's not really there, and I ignore it. And I've gotten really good at this. This year will be the 8th year I've done the 340, and I've gotten really good at being able to ignore these hallucinations. The significance of the tattoo was when I didn't realize it was hallucination anymore and I thought it was real. I was paddling past Jefferson City and the sun was going down. There were shadows all over the river, and I was already seeing stuff anyways that I knew wasn't real. But then the shadows sort of looked like these beautiful blackbirds, just like hundreds of them all over the water. And I remember thinking, God, that is so beautiful. And then all of a sudden, something in my head just snapped, and I thought they were real. And it was really odd. I went from knowing they weren't real to immediately thinking they were real. And that's when everything fell apart. The birds started flying all around me. And I put my paddle down. I was just like, oh, they're so beautiful. And they were just like flying all around me and darting and diving, and then they started diving into the water, and then they sort of looked like penguins, like diving in the water, flying out, flying around me. And I can remember just going, oh, this is so beautiful. And I remember thinking, when I get home, I'm going to look these birds up on the computer and see what type of bird can do this. I've never known a bird that could dive and swim like penguins and shoot out of the air, flying like almost like huge crows. And so I'm floating. Anyone going by me would have thought I was on drugs or something, man. I was just like, oh, this is so beautiful. And then all of a sudden, these black penguins turned into like black bodies, like dead bodies. And arms were reaching up trying to grab me, and I'm just like, oh crap. So I paddle, trying to get out of there. And these bodies are chasing me, like they're in the water and they're like swimming like dolphins, and they're in the water and they're, you know, trying to grab for me. And I made it to the next checkpoint, and I was hollering at the guy that I was dating. I was like, oh, you know, you gotta grab me my stuff. I gotta get out here. These bodies are chasing me. The dead people are chasing me. And I think I'd been awake for about 36 hours, nonstop paddling by then. And he literally pulled me out of my boat and made me sleep for 30 minutes. And when I woke up, I was fine. So that's the significance of this tattoo. Is the danger of the river might be real, but the fear is a choice.
So, okay, that's a scary moment, but I know you've had some really inspiring moments.
Yes.
and you know, meaningful moments to
Right.
you. I think when maybe you described. Oh, there's been a couple.
There's
Okay.
been two meaningful moments. One was when I was paddling at night. This was not part of the race, but I was paddling at night, and I was hearing the sounds of nature. You could hear the water and the creek moving. You could hear the waves. You could hear the wing dikes. It was a full moon, and it was just beautiful. And I just sort of put my paddle down, had my hands behind me in the water, just sort of drifting, and it felt like I was just one with nature and one with the water. And it was like, I'm not a very religious person, but I could almost feel the presence of God just all around me. It was very inspiring. And I felt sad. I felt inspired, but I also felt sad that there was no one else out there to enjoy this moment with me and to appreciate this moment that I was so fortunate to be able to have. And it was very unique. The other incident was during the race, during the 340 race. When you go without sleep for that long, you're dehydrated, you do start hallucinating. Most of my hallucinations are like flashes of light. You see trees turn into tree people. Some of it's funny, some of it's not so funny, but I've learned to ignore it. I've just learned this isn't real, and I've learned to ignore it. But this one particular hallucination was very personal to me. It was the mist was coming up from the river. I don't know, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and there's little swirls of mist coming up off the river. And in my hallucinated state, the swirls sort of looked like little ghosts dancing. So you had these swirls, and they were just sort of dancing around on top of the river, and just like fairies or ghosts, and it was just beautiful. And I just put my paddle down, I was just watching them, and it was beautiful. And I felt very safe, and I felt like, suddenly I sort of felt like my father was there with me looking down. He'd recently passed away, and my father used to smoke these really thick cigars, and the smell of the cigar was very, there was no describing the smell, but it's very distinct. And I started smelling the smoke of my father's cigar, and I felt the presence of my father there, and I just felt very safe, and I just felt very loved. And you know, here I am in the middle of the Missouri River at night, the fog's coming in, most people are going off the river, and I'm just sitting there feeling like there's no other place in the whole world I'd rather be at than right there. So,
Okay. So that's the significance of the Missouri River and your love for it?
I love the river. I love paddling on it. I think it's a great place for family paddles, for training, just to go out and enjoy the beauty and the nature of the river. I think it's very much not utilized to its full potential here in the state of Missouri, at least in the Kansas City area.
All right.
But
Well,
yes.
Thanks, Tracy, for taking us out here and sharing your experiences.
You're welcome, Julie.